not only volcanic activity, but severe earthquakes too. The most active volcano in the continental United States, Mount St. Helens had a fierce reputation long before Europeans settled here. Native Americans called it Fire Mountain and stayed away. Few people saw the last major activity at Mount St. Helens in 1857. Since then, the volcano has slept. March 20th, 1980. The United States Geological Survey recorded a moderate earthquake deep in the earth directly below Mount St. Helens. Over the next few days, the United States Geological Survey recorded several hundred earthquakes. The volcano was waking up.
When we first heard about the earthquake swarm under the volcano, we were not surprised when it woke up. About 2 minutes.
March 27th. After a week of cyclone turbulence, the pressures building inside the cone exploded. Obscured by cloud cover on the ground, news crews flew above the clouds to report what they saw. Spewing ash and steam 6,000 feet into the atmosphere, a crater 250 feet wide opened at the summit. This was the first significant volcanic eruption in the continental United States since California's Lassen Peak erupted in 1914. News crews rushed to the scene of a potential disaster, along with sightseers curious about the long, quiet mountains.
I was 3 years old, didn't have any defense, never been married. It's like a volcano. I'm not going to go play on it. I mean, it's preposterous. I mean, there's no... in the words of...
Washington State suddenly had a dangerous celebrity. Harry's gonna stay, it's his choice. The media created another celebrity named Harry Truman, a lodge owner on Spirit Lake at the foot of the mountain.
I'm not going to leave it. That's right. I'm not going to leave. I'm going to stay here.
His refusal to leave his home of 50 years charmed the nation.
If I left, if I left this place and left my home, I'd die in a week. So I'm like an old captain and right down and goes out the ship. I said, damn thing goes this mountain, I'm going nowhere. I'd rather go dead.
March 30th. 93 small eruptions ejected steam and ash from the newly opened crater. The news excited volcano watchers, including Dan Miller and the newly assembled team of USGS scientists.
We all worked together. Occasionally, late in the evening, when we all came back into town to Vancouver, we'd go out to a restaurant together. We stayed in the same motel or motels together to go out to the volcano and land on the summit area. And we shared our day every morning at 7 a.m. at an early morning meeting to try to figure out what was going on.
April 3rd. Monitoring equipment recorded harmonic tremor under Mount St. Helens. This tells geologists that magma, molten rock charged with gases, was on the move. Washington Governor Dixie Lee Ray declared a state of emergency. The state warned people living near Mount St. Helens to prepare to evacuate. As ash and steam continue to spout from the top of the mountain, it's the northern flank holding the attention of scientists. These USGS photos show a growing Mount St. Helens. As magma forced its way under the mountain, its surface swelled and cracked. They named it the Bulge. As earthquake activity continued, geologists' predictions became increasingly grim.
We realized, hey, this is not going away. And in fact, the intensity of some aspects of the changes under the volcano was increasing with time. We were excited about that on the one hand, and on the other hand, we realized that Mount St. Helens, when it erupts, it is a very devastating kind of volcano.
While much of the focus on Mount St. Helens turned to the bulge, other volcanic activity slowed. The blasts of steam and ash stopped by May 16th, delighting skeptics. The ongoing earthquake activity showed no signs of slowing. The USGS recorded 10,000 tremors, all of it concentrated about a mile and a half beneath the bulge on the north base of Mount St. Helens. Authorities stepped up security to keep people from getting too close to the growing mountain. Property owners around Mount St. Helens, already angry about the roadblocks, demanded entry into the restricted area to recover personal belongings.
About $7,000
On May 17th, authorities allowed residents of the Mount St. Helens area into the danger zone to load their vehicles with everything they can from their homes. National Guard helicopters stood by for emergency evacuation. They scheduled another trip for 10 o'clock the following morning. This program is brought to you.
I called Dave Miller on Sunday morning at 7 a.m. and he confirmed. He said, sure, nothing is happening here. Come on over. So we jumped in the plane, took off from Yakima about 10 after 7, and we arrived at Mount St. Helens at about 10 minutes of 8.
And so I thought, okay, just sketch. I'll do another watercolor. So I was out there sketching.
Sunday morning, May 18th. Almost all of the 330 loggers who work on Mount St. Helens were off for the day. Most of the sightseers went home since the eruption seemed to quit days ago. But there were still some people on or near the mountain. Ty and Mariana Kearney were on volcano watch, volunteer ham radio operators with the Washington State Office of Emergency Management. They were stationed only 8 miles west of Mount St. Helens. Overhead, in a chartered airplane, geologists Keith and Dorothy Stoffel gathered information and enjoyed Keith's birthday, the flight, a gift from her husband, Keith. 5 miles due north of the bulge, geologist David Johnston monitored his equipment and radioed his colleagues at the USGS in Vancouver. The mountain was quiet. As Robert Rogers drove out of the area, he stopped to talk to the Kearneys. HW2 AM. An earthquake rocked the mountain directly beneath the bulge.
Ty felt it and reported it to Linville right away. And he said the whole band shook.
We were on the northwest side of the crater, about 500 feet directly above the north side, when all of a sudden we saw the glacier that was perched on the south crater wall caving in. And we got excited. We thought, oh gee, this is exciting, a little activity.
Just like, standing at the kitchen table, and the big guy just sort of shaved the rim of the table. It wasn't a big deal, but it everybody felt it.
While no moving pictures exist at the moment of eruption, we can animate the eruption from evidence of the various still photographs snapped at the critical moment. Paper shook loose the unstable bulge on the north side of the mountain. Mount St. Helens collapsed on itself. Within seconds, the largest landslide debris avalanche in recorded history began its siege down the mountain.
What was strange was that the whole north side was moving and the south side was stationary. It was as though you had sliced the volcano in half. We watched the north half of the volcano falling away beneath our feet.
Traveling up to 180 miles an hour, the avalanche rushed northward, dumping material into Spirit Lake and surged west into the North Fork of the Tougal River. But the mountain wasn't through. Within seconds of the landslide, Mount St. Helens unleashed a cataclysmic explosion 700 times greater than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima.
Holy shit.
Meanwhile, from their view 8 miles away, Robert Rogers managed to snap these photographs until his camera jammed. Ty Kearney, standing a few feet away from Rogers, snapped these photos. From Rogers and Kearney's photos, we see how the mountain blew not up as expected, but out.
This plume has come out of the summit, and then this plume came out of the side. And the vertical plume was not prominent at all. It was the lateral plume. And I said, wow, that's going right for Seattle.
Mount St. Helens blasted out of its north side with such force that top 1,300 feet of the mountain disappeared. The blast overtook the landslide in seconds.
I looked up the mountain as soon as they said earthquake, and it had started. And it was the beginning of the lateral blast, and I feel very privileged to have seen the very start of it.
Clearly, it had happened. And it was bigger than I could ever have anticipated. I mean, it was gigantic. I saw a mountain open up and then fill half of the horizon with black ash in seconds, minutes. Wow!
Overhead, Keith and Dorothy Stoffel, along with pilot Bruce Judson, were right on top of the catastrophe. Keith also had a camera.
We had just cleared the crater. The upper component of the blast exploded out of the top of the crater. The blast, as it developed, was huge. It blew out the north side of the volcano, the entire field of view of our airplane. You could see the blast in the background. Bruce did an amazing maneuver to save our lives.
Traveling at about 600 miles an hour, the blast snapped massive 100-year-old trees in seconds, roaring over nearby hills, destroying everything in its path. As the earthquake struck, geologist David Johnston watched the landslide come straight at him. He had just enough time to radio 5 words to his colleagues in Vancouver. His message, Vancouver, Vancouver, this is it.
I had two very strong emotions on the morning of May 18. On the one hand, I was really thrilled that this explosive volcano that I had been studying for 6 years and that my colleagues had been studying for much longer than that was actually in the midst of a huge, explosive and spectacular eruption. I mean, as a scientist, that's pretty exciting. On the other hand, I very quickly realized that something terrible had probably happened to Dave Johnston.
David Johnston's body was never found. As the eruption developed on the ground, it fanned out to the north, sending a column of ash into the atmosphere. The Kearneys and Robert Rogers raced for survival.
Ty Kearney sounds alert on the radio. It's about the
It
time.
seemed like my whole world had fallen apart because all you could see out the bad windows was gray ash cloud, and then we got down into a twilight zone. It was half dust, sort of, and there was lightning flashing all over that cloud. It was just terribly frightening. And that's when I got scared, because then I thought, I wonder if I'm really going to get out of here.
The only avenue of escape led toward the volcano over winding, rough logging roads. As they made their dash for safety, they couldn't see the raft unleashed from Mount St. Helens.
We were going toward the mountain. That's the only way we could go. There was no other way to go. So we drove 1.25 miles toward the mountain. Then we made a sharp turn to the south.
In front of the Kearneys, Robert Rogers and Francesco Valenzuela also raced down the mountain, a race Rogers still gets excited about telling.
So there are 3 cars. We drive straight.
And that radio was terrific. And somebody, this man we'd had a potluck the night before on the 17th, and he'd been up there. And he was just a ham. And I thought I had to scream because the static was so terrific. And then I made some transmissions on the way down. It just looked like it was engulfing us.
Already engulfed, news photographer David Crockett kept his camera rolling as he recorded what he feared would be his last words.
Oh dear God. My God, this is hell. I just can't describe it. It's pitch black. Just pitch black. This is hell on earth. I'm like, oh God. One step at a time. If I can just keep walking. God, if I can, there's more air to breathe.